instaMERSION.
Welcome everybody back to I Am Talk. We have my good friend Carol Nakamoto, who's made herself available. Thank you for just your time and your investment coming all the way down over here. Carol, I just recollect just the first times that we actually got to serve together, and I think it was probably back in the New Hope Diamond Head days,
Yep.
right? And what I just have gotten to just really appreciate you over all these years is just the similar heart that we share regarding faith, and then also actually art and photography too,
That's
right?
true. We have both in common.
Yeah, so if you can just share a little bit with us, Carol Nakamoto, what are you all about? What's a little bit of your journey coming to this point right now?
Okay, well, the thing that I want to share with you today is about the new Gen-Xer ministry that was just launched in September. And maybe I should start in telling you why.
Yeah. I'd love to hear the why of just why God is stirring this within you.
Yeah. So about 26 years ago, I helped to launch a new church. And in the process, I met my very best friend of 24 years.
Wow.
And we were both single and had never married, so we did like everything together. And 2 years ago, she passed away suddenly.
No.
And so, that's been a very big loss in my life. And I found that I was having a very difficult time going back to my home church because it was a painful reminder that she was gone. And so not only did I lose my best friend and my church, within a span of a year's time, I had lost most of my social connections and support systems.
Goodness. Wow.
So I had a very a long season of feeling alone and isolated.
Oh, wow.
So when I finally decided to, try and find a new church again, I found that I felt very disconnected.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like a lot of church ministries, they have like ministries for children and for couples or families and kupuna.
Right.
But really, there wasn't, a ministry for single people, especially in my age group, people in their 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
And so, I went to all these different Bible studies and things, and I just didn't connect with people. And I think a lot of it was due to like life stage and status and things like that. And so I also tried then looking online for a community that I was looking for, a faith-based community. So according to Google and Facebook and Eventbrite and all these different places that you can search, that this community that I was looking for single Christians in my age group, it did not exist. And so, as I was talking with other people, I felt that this was a common theme for single Christians, that there there was no faith community for them. Yeah. And they too were feeling disconnected. And so in faith, I decided that, if there's no community, then maybe I need to help build one. Yeah. So in the middle of September, I partnered with First Presbyterian Church of Honolulu to launch genxhawaii.
And so, Carol, I'm just so sorry that you had to go through very unfortunate circumstances, and just how devastating that loss must have been, and even I can't imagine just the questions or just the struggle through that season, and even just the loneliness too, having lost one of your best friends, but at the same time too, just seeing God's redeeming nature, right, and then Him being able to just kind of show you different things through a very tragic time, how He was just allowing you to have these new revelations and just kind of feel different people's pains in terms of taking your own suffering, taking your own pain, finding relationship through that and saying, hey, you know what, there's actually a need in this generation, 40s, 50s, and you actually saying, hey, you know what, the Lord is actually prompting you to do something about it versus, because I know for me, it's so easy to just try to find things. And if I can't find it, then I just blame everyone and everything else rather than saying, hey, I can actually do something to make a difference. I could just really see that as being a very defining moment for you. And what was it like for you to say, hey, you know what, I'm gonna take a stand and I'm actually gonna do something about my situation versus just being stuck in this victim mentality?
Well, I think what really helped was that there's just a lot of confirmation, like God just opened all the doors. Like First Presbyterian Church, I'm so grateful for them.
Wow.
So Dan Chun is their senior pastor, and he has a big heart for singles. I mean, he even wrote a book for singles. Have you?
Yes, he has a marriage book, right?
Yeah, it's like how to choose a spouse or how to pick a spouse. Yeah. And in fact, when he was living in California, he was a singles pastor, and his ministry flourished so much that at one point they had 3,000 people, 3,000 singles that were a part of his ministry.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
And I'm sure there's just so much fruit that came out of that too, in terms of people maybe seeking healing, trying to discover their purpose and just what marriage is all about. And I wouldn't be surprised if there were just a bunch of new relationships that might have sprung forth from that, and even marriages and families, right?
Yes, he did talk about that. Lots of new relationships and friendships that were like lifelong friendships.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah, and so he just really believes that churches do need to have a singles ministry, and there needs to be a place for us where we can have a community, together.
What was it like for you just, answering that call? Because have you ever done something like this to this capacity, or is this kind of a first for you?
I've been involved in a lot of ministries, but as far as launching something that was a vision that God had given to me, this is the first time.
Wow.
It's normally I normally partnered with other ministries, partnered with other visionaries and things like that. But as far as launching something that with a vision God had given me, this is the first time.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned just this gap that exists, right? Because you can go to many different churches, and when it comes to just the standard ministries, I guess that we kind of think of men's, women's, children's, worship, the list goes on and on. But why do you think there's this weird gap, and why hasn't it been addressed?
Yeah. Well, I feel like churches do have a ministry for singles that are younger.
Younger, yes.
And usually it's under the heading of young adults. But it just so happens that they are mostly single people, and they're in their 20s and 30s. So they're well covered. I feel like churches do have enough of a group of people where they're able to actually put a staff person to help oversee that group.
Right.
But then comes the singles in the 40s and 50s, and I think one of the problems is that there's just not enough of us in one church to put resources towards it. So that's why maybe churches, we only have maybe a dozen or 2 dozen single people in their 40s and 50s, so it may not warrant having a staff person to oversee that that group.
Right.
So I think that could be one of the reasons why there's a little bit of a gap there.
Wow. What was it like, just having this grandiose vision, and then not only just this vision that God gave to you, but I can just see because of what you had gone through and just the side of it that was very personal for you too, right? Where you didn't want people to be suffering the things that you had suffered, and saying, hey, you know what, we can hui together and actually create something new, create a new community, create new opportunities, and God could just breathe something so amazing through this. What was it like kind of going from that big vision to, okay, how do we make this a reality, right?
Yeah, so there's the vision, and then there's the actual process.
The practical steps,
yeah,
right?
The practical steps, exactly. Again, open doors.
Yeah.
I have to say that, and again, confirmation from God, because the first 2 people that I asked to be a part of the leadership team said yes.
Wow.
And they're both pastors.
Wow.
Yeah, for me, I felt like for a singles ministry, you really need to have a male and a female pastor
that's a great
that
point.
can shepherd this group.
Yes.
And so first ask, and they both said yes.
Wow.
That they'd love to do it.
Amazing. What was it like leading up to the first event, and what had you planned, and just what did God do through that launch?
Yeah, so we had planned an in-person gathering, and
That must have been even a stretch too, right? Given the pandemic season.
yeah.
But there also, I'm sure, being this desire for people to say, hey, no, we need to just start meeting up in person again and be human again, right?
So it just so happens that for that very first meeting in mid-September, we did have a spike in cases.
That's when Delta kind of came through,
Yeah,
right? Yes.
Delta came
That
through.
darn Delta, yes.
I tell you. So we had to kind of shift, and so our very first meeting was on Zoom. But we had a nice attendance from people from all different churches. I think we had 29 people that showed up for our very first meeting.
Yeah, I remember at this time you were actually texting me, right? And then you were saying, hey, do you know of anybody in the Gen X range? And I was just trying to go down my list and think of all the different people that I could send to you. But I can just see how, just you utilizing all the relationships that you had to say, hey, let's really get the word out.
Yep. So, I didn't have a ton of people that were Gen Xers, single Gen Xers that I invited, but I invited people like you that knew of people, right?
Very smart.
And word did spread, and so that was our very first meeting. Basically, it was we had Dan come on, because he
has such a heart for it, right?
He has a heart for singles, so he shared his heart and his vision for our ministry, and so he gave a talk, and we also had a time of breakout groups where we wanted to know from them, what do you want, right? Like, we want to design this so that we're doing a ministry that meets the needs of the people who are attending. So that was the first meeting.
And so you just kind of being able to launch this ministry and really just be at the genesis of just something amazing that could happen, right? And it's probably already been a few months into it.
A couple
months. And so from the starting point to where you are now, what are the things that you've seen happen during that time?
Yeah. We're so new. We're so young in ministry, but already God is doing amazing things.
Wow.
Yes. So after our first meeting on Zoom, after that, the numbers went down and we're able to meet in person.
Yeah.
So we're actually having like a Bible study, which we call our small group driven experience. And we do that on the first and third Wednesday. At the Vine, which is in Kaka'ako. We have a nice location in Kaka'ako. And so we've had 5 of those meetings so far, and that's kind of like the hub. That's where everybody comes, where discipleship happens, and
So are you preaching at these events? Are you sharing messages? Or because I remember we were chatting a little bit before, and how you were sharing how the Lord is positioning you in a place where you're having to be a little bit more vocal than before.
Yeah, I am not a person that likes to talk in front of people. It's scary for me, but God has taken me out of my comfort zones. I've had to, it's mostly vision casting, kind of sharing who we are, what are we about, where are we going, so that kind of stuff is what I do. But I leave the teaching up to the pastors, really.
Nice.
Yeah, they're so gifted. So I let Jenny and Jeff do most of the teaching.
Yeah, so I see, just how you're able to empower other leaders too, right? Other pastors and people that maybe are more experienced in that realm, but at the same time for you to actually be in the, I don't want to just say like the spotlight, but having to come out and be able to share the heart, share the vision of this. I can see there being so much growth in you too, right?
Yeah, it's been good though. It's been good. It's just taken a while for me to get to this point of stepping out in faith, but I'm excited. It's good for me.
Now that you kind of, because it's almost like developing a new muscle, right?
Yes.
Right, because I feel like it's often so easy just to kind of gravitate. Oh, like us as photographers, right? We love being behind the cameras, behind the scenes, and there tends to be all this technical know-how, but even kind of a comfort that you can find in that zone, because it's almost like a default where I know for me, I'm like, well, even for me to be on this show right now, I'm like, I'm not going to be doing this. I thought I was going to produce it and find a host, but the Lord is saying, no, you're going to be the host and actually be the one asking questions. And it's been so fun. In what ways have you seen just the Lord grow you through just really putting yourself out there and saying, okay, God, I'm just going to trust you in this and walk in faith?
Yeah. Well, public speaking has been the number one thing. I I love being behind the camera, like you mentioned,
Yeah.
and so, and sometimes I think that's a way of, being outside of the limelight, right? And I love supporting people.
Yeah, like you're still there, but you're kind of,
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I also felt like my calling was to support people. But in this season, God is calling me to be a leader, and if you
Yeah.
want to be a leader, you do need to be the spokesperson at
Absolutely,
times, right?
yes.
You do need to share your heart. And so as much as I want to tell somebody else to do it, I felt like, okay, with encouragement of the other people in the team, so Jeff, Jenny, and John is another person in our leadership that they've given me little gentle nudges. Yeah, and so, but that's good. It's been very good for me to take that step of faith.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're able to just, help one another, provide feedback, and just always, find different growth points, right?
Yes.
Because we're all, imperfect in our own ways, but at the same time, too, as we keep putting ourselves out there, keep finessing. And then again, it's not about perfection or performance, but it's more about say, hey, Lord, how can we just grow in ways that will just draw people closer to you, right? And so, yeah.
There's a second thing too that I feel like God's been growing me in, and it's in reaching out to the churches.
Wow.
Yeah, so I've been contacting various churches in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And
are these like relationships that you have, or are some people more like cold calls and just taking a step of faith saying, okay, well, hi, my name's Carol, and yeah.
they're cold calls.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
And that's so bold of you, right? Just to say like, hey, this is what we're doing, and how has that been like for you?
It's been so good. So, they've been Zoom meetings.
Yes.
It's just so convenient now
Yeah.
to meet with people on Zoom. But I've been meeting with pastors and basically sharing with them how Gen-X can be a free resource to them. Again, just letting them know of the need. Some churches may not know that there is a big need for people, for single people to have a community. And then the second part is letting them know how they can partner with us.
Yeah.
And so basically we're just asking them to like identify who their Gen-X singles are, and then to just promote us, to let their congregation know that we're there for them.
I think you mentioned something so interesting, how you said as you contacted a lot of these churches, a lot of them didn't even recognize the need. And I'm just wondering, is the misconception more that, when people are in their 40s and 50s, they have their careers, they have things together, but you wouldn't think that, no, there's a need for community. Maybe if they're not married or if they don't have small groups or whatnot, that, there's this gap, right?
Yeah. I think what it is, it's a resource thing, right? Churches have only so many resources, so they're going to go with the big groups, right? Children, families, kupuna. So I think it's more like that, And so I love sharing that about our generation and the needs that we have. And some do know. Some do know already. They do recognize it, but they just don't have the resources to be able to do it. Like they can't find maybe the one volunteer that's going to take it on, because it's a big responsibility and there's so much work that needs to be done, right? But once they know and they're so supportive, once they hear that we have this resource for them, they're all in. They're really excited to partner with us.
So I can just really see, just your new ministry, just really being all about the people, right? And the people that God is bringing. And I'm sure you've made a ton of new friends, right? Through this experience. And what has that been like?
It's been so cool. Yeah. We have so many different people from so many different churches. So maybe 50 or 60 different people have come through our doors from about 8 different churches. And, surprisingly, we have a good number of leaders in the community that are part of our group. People that are very influential in their jobs and making a big impact through their jobs. Wow. So that's so exciting, and as these people come in, and of course we have all kinds of people, right?
Sure.
So, but anyway, the neat thing is that as we come together, we can do so much more together. We are better together. I think that's going to be our tagline.
Better together, right?
Yes.
And there's so much truth to that, right? Because, alone obviously sucks, right? But then when you're with people that are like-minded, have the same heart, and then just really want to see, just the Holy Spirit move in a profound way, then, wow, there's just so much power to that. And so I have to ask you, is there any new relationships or any new, I don't know if it's enough of a window to even have like new engagements or anything of that sort, or, and I know like, you know, the heart of it isn't just to get everybody married or whatnot.
You know, nothing that I've heard of, nothing that I've heard of so far.
Yeah.
I think that what the focus has really been on spiritual development and friendships. So I see a lot of that going on. I see spiritual growth. We're putting a new emphasis on prayer.
Wow.
Like this past week, Wednesday was amazing.
Yeah.
We had an extended time of prayer together.
Wow.
And just with all of the activities that we're doing, these I'm seeing relationships form.
That's so amazing.
These really cool new friendships.
Wow.
We've had like 2 big social events. So we had a costume party over like that, you know, Halloween weekend, which was really fun. And then this past Saturday we had a sunset cocktail reception.
I think I saw pictures of you guys with 36 stories up, right?
It was so beautiful.
Wow.
But it was also really just, you know, time to just relax and to get to know each other a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, it's just fellowship at its finest, right? When you can just, you have the ministry side, you want to equip, you want to be able to partner in spirit, but at the same time too, also just have those moments to really get to know each other and just relax a little bit, right? And just to enjoy life. Being a few months into this ministry, and I'm sure, you know, just through the steps of faith that you've taken, and seeing all these relationships, just seeing God move within this space. Is there any kind of new projections or new visions that He's kind of giving you into the new year of what you would, maybe it's something that God is impressing upon you for the ministry, or things that you would like to see happen coming into the new year?
Well, just today we had a meeting, and initially we were doing a lot of like team building. That was our focus, like working on what do you want, what values are important to you, and from values we created our ministry teams. So it's kind of a cool way of doing it. Everything is Holy Spirit driven. So everything that we're doing is all birthed out through prayer and really asking God what He wants us to do with this ministry, which is super cool. We're not following any other model.
For sure.
It's just, Holy Spirit, right? God, tell us what you want us to do. But in the next season, we feel like we really want to dig a little bit deeper into the Word. And so that's kind of where that's our next season, that we want to really get deeper into the Word and spend more time in prayer. Based on what happened last week, we're like, wow. We just see God working through prayer, and we want to just make that more of an emphasis, especially on our Wednesday nights.
And it can't come at a better time. I know I told you not to mention anything time sensitive, but with the new year coming, right? And people making New Year's resolutions and just kind of wanting to re-solidify their foundations and kind of set new goals, I could, just really see that as not only being a great foundation for their faith individually, but also for the relationships that they get to grow on top of that. And so, that's so awesome. Anything you would like to add about the ministry, or just whatever you have in your heart? Oh,
I wanted to share a vision that Jenny had.
Absolutely.
So our Gen X team had a prayer, a time of extended prayer in the very early days of us planning this ministry. And God had given her a vision of, the Up movie?
Yes.
I have a picture of the house and the balloons.
Oh, that's the cutest scene right there.
Right?
I love it.
So God had given her this vision.
Wow.
And so we were kind of wondering, like, what does this mean for us? And as we're getting to know everybody and seeing all the different types of people God is bringing, we have people with all of these amazing skills.
Yes.
And at this life stage, they're really making an impact in the world, right? And so, and then like in the movie, like, all of these balloons were able to lift this house because they were working together. So in the same way, we feel that, like each of us is like a balloon, that we're all bringing our individual talents and gifts and passions and things that we do best.
I love that.
Right? And so alone, we probably couldn't lift a house, right? One balloon couldn't do it. But as we come together...
What a powerful, great metaphor.
Right? Yes, that we are able to do amazing things and really make an impact in our families, in our churches,
Yeah.
and in our communities.
Yeah. I'm just getting a impression of Minions and how you never see all the, but you know, like they're always together doing these greater things together, right? Because really relying on each other and really, you know, as a body, right? Biblically speaking, being able to do greater things beyond. Carol, you've been just so faithful, just being able to answer this assignment that God has given you. And the question I want to ask you is, what would you consider a success in terms of the Lord saying, "Hey, Carol, you know, well done, my good and faithful servant," regarding this Gen X ministry? Like, what would you, what would you consider a success in terms of, you know, what you could leave behind, or maybe at some point, maybe you got married or something like that and you passed off the torch, or, what would be considered a success for you?
Well, first of all, this ministry is called Gen X.
Gen X.
Because nobody ever ages out.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
Okay.
Right?
So
Gen
it's
X,
not like you kind of graduate or whatnot, but you just keep going because you're at that generation no matter what, right?
yeah, because there's some communities that at a certain age 40, you're out. Right?
Yes.
So although right now we're in our 40s and 50s, eventually we're going to be 50s and 60s, 60s and 70s.
The numbers just keep adding.
Right? So that's one of the beauties of Gen X.
Yeah.
And so maybe for me, one of the signs of success would be is that we are going to be doing life together for the long haul.
I love that.
That we grow together. We grow and we do life together for many years to come. That we'll have like years and years of deep friendship.
Yeah, that's so profound. Carol, we're down to our last few minutes, and so I just want to give you just the time to shine, right?
Okay.
So we have this camera in front over here, and so if there's anything, maybe it's Gen X, maybe it's a word from God, but I just want to give you a moment just to address our audience with what God's putting in your heart.
Of course. Okay, so if you are a single Christian in your 40s and 50s, and you're looking for a place of belonging with like-minded individuals, and would like to impact the world for Christ and have lots of fun doing it, we would invite you to check out our website, which is genxhawaii.com. And if you're a pastor or a church leader and you're interested in helping your Gen X singles to find a community like ours, I would invite you to get in contact with me so that we can have a meeting and talk about how we can partner together. And the best way that you can reach us would be through our email, which is genxhawaii@gmail.com. So, yeah.
That's so great, Carol. Just to to speak a word of life into you, I just love seeing just the transformation. I mean, we've known each other through all these years, and I think it's probably like within the past month or so, we've just been having more just kind of divine connections, intersections, right? But just I really love just seeing you on assignment, on mission, and I just see this different focus that you have. Focus, right? We're all camera people, but I feel like everything has kind of gotten into this. You know how you hit autofocus on your camera, and then everything that's kind of blurry. Not that things are blurry for you, but I just feel like things are even more sharper focus and more intentional, and then you just being very direct with the plans that you have. God is just saying, no, I'm going to give you the steps, and you just faithfully walking in them and just seeing this awesome anointing come out from you.
Oh, thank
and
you.
So,
I'm so grateful.
No, absolutely. So, Carol, I just want to thank you for your time just to come all the way over here and just to share your heart for Gen X. And we'll leave the website and just ways to contact Carol if you're interested in partnering with her or even joining the ministry and just being able to, we want to see you plugged in, part of this community, and really want to see you thrive together. And so thank you again, Carol, for your time.
Thanks, Alex.
And that's about all for today. So thank you, everybody, and God bless.
instaMERSION.
I would love to thank you for hanging out with us here on I Am Talk. Hit the subscribe button to stay in tune with our channel. Oh, and don't forget to tap that bell icon to get notifications on the latest episodes coming your way. We're always looking for the next guests to talk story with here on I Am Talk. So if you just shoot me an email at alex@instaMERSION.com, I'll be sure to shoot a guest application your way. Well guys, it's all for now. Until our next episode of I Am Talk, this is Alex, and I'm out. Peace!